Hi, everybody. Peter Greenberg here with you for our global travel update. As you may have seen, for the last couple of weeks, we've been all across America. Our last global travel update was last week from Everett, Washington, and we've now crossed a few time zones since. We're no longer in America. We're coming to you tonight from the Villa Rosa Kempinski Hotel in Nairobi in Kenya. So we've really crossed a few time zones to get to you today. Of course, if you got some questions for me, you know what to do. Stream them in. We'll answer them as much as we can. Lots of stuff to talk about, of course, as this last Wednesday of April, it just goes by so fast. It's crazy. But that just means we're getting closer to summer. And what that means is two words: perfect storm. You would think we've learned our lessons from the craziness of last year. We have not. The FAA has asked the airlines actually to cut their flights because of their own staffing shortages, not enough air traffic controllers. That's a pleasant thought. And the TSA is now reporting that they're anticipating record numbers of passengers going through security checkpoints. In fact, more than 2019. Also not a pleasant thought. And here's the most unpleasant thought if you actually want to go for the trifecta. The airlines haven't adjusted their schedules. They're still flying connecting flights with 33-minute connect times. They're publishing schedules they cannot physically deliver, which means a lot of misconnected passengers, especially if you go for that 33-minute connect time. I urge you, if you're going to book online or not, and there's a connect time of under 2 hours, don't book it, especially as we get into the summer months. You will end up spending the night in a rocking chair at an airport you never wanted to be in. But this is what's going on right now. And it's sort of like a game of chicken in which nobody's blinking. Yes, the airlines have cut back about 10% of their flights, but this is what they've done. This is even getting a little more ludicrous. They're flying fewer flights, okay. They're flying larger planes, but at only peak times. So the concentration and passenger surge is literally overloading airports. That's why when you're there, everybody else is there. If you're trying to get into a lounge, like the Delta Sky Club, forget it. American Express Club, forget it. I mean, the point of a lounge was to avoid the lines. There's now a line of more than 100 people every morning at LaGuardia just to get into the club that they're supposed to provide them with the opportunity of not standing in any line. It's out of control and it's completely upside down. That's got to be fixed. Now, is there any good news? Yeah, there is. Here we go. We have a lot of airlines competing over the North Atlantic that are actually doing fare sales. You can get them now. Don't wait. We're talking about airlines like Norse Atlantic, Play out of Iceland, French Bee out of Paris, out of Orly, not de Gaulle, and of course Condor, which is my new favorite airline out of Frankfurt. These guys have a great route network, and if you don't mind changing planes in Frankfurt, yes, you'll be doing some walking. It's a great way to go. But look at their websites now. See what the sales are now. They won't last for long. We're seeing other pop-up sales come in, airlines like Southwest and JetBlue for U.S. routes, and a couple of discounted routes on JetBlue's new flights to Amsterdam and to Paris. They're already going to London. Again, these pop-up sales only come out maybe once a week for maybe 36 hours. You've got to catch them, and then they go away. But they're still there, and that's nice to know. Now, let's get back to the bad news for a minute. We mentioned the TSA reporting record numbers of people going to be traveling through security checkpoints. Well, try this one on for size. We talked about this about 6 months ago when we looked at the figures for 2022 and 2021. The TSA now reports it set a record, and not an enviable one, for seizing more weapons at security checkpoints than ever before. Now, if you think that's bad, get ready for this. 86% of them were loaded. Yikes. I don't get it. I do not get it. All right. Now, let's get into some other things that are coming up now as we're getting ready for summer. Have you noticed when you go to a restaurant, or when you're in a taxi cab, or when you're in other forms of transportation, or even going to a Starbucks, you're seeing restaurants that are playing with you. They're automatically giving you, instead of just leaving a blank for a tip, they're giving you a figure, a percentage. And in many cases, it's very difficult to opt out. In some cases, like in some hotels, they're double dipping. They're putting in a 15% service charge and then still leaving a space for gratuity. Ridiculous. There is no requirement for you to have to tip. Think about that. There isn't. Now, if a waitress or waiter or other server or taxi cab driver does really great service and they're not talking in another language you don't understand all the way through the airport with their friends and family, if they're actually helping you with your luggage, if they're actually polite, which, by the way, should be what they'd be doing anyway, then if you feel like giving them a nice tip, do it. But what's the first tip that comes up on the screen when you go to pay? 20%. In some cities, it's 25%. And some of us who are so like racing to get out of the cab and we want to do the thing that's the most expedient, just hit the first button we see, and we wonder why we're spending so much money these days. I do not deny anybody the opportunity to get a tip, do not get me wrong, but I resent and I fight back when somebody tells me what I must tip, or where it's positioned on the screen in such a way that I can't opt out of it unless I go do 4 more override moves. So remember, that's happening more than you can imagine. All right, let's go to the screen and say hello to some folks here. Again, we're coming to you from the Villa Rosa Kempinski Hotel here in Nairobi. I've been coming to Nairobi, by the way, since 1982. Yes, I am that old. I love Kenya. I like to spend as much time here as I can. We're here on a special project that I can reveal to you in the next couple of weeks, but you'll be seeing it. But the bottom line is, now is the time to come to Kenya. The shilling is not strong against the US dollar. What that means is you can actually have an affordable trip here. I used an Uber this morning that would have cost me $25 in New York for a 10-minute ride, and the Uber this morning was 240 shillings. You know what 240 shillings is? Less than $2. So there's hope. And of course, you take a look at what Kenya is and what it has to offer. It's not just Nairobi, it's not just the Masai Mara, it's not just safaris, it's the coastline, it's desert, it's unbelievable lakes, and of course, the cradle of civilization. More on that in the coming weeks. All right, now, let's go to say hello to some folks. Okay, Harriet and Jim are saying hi from Bethany Beach, Delaware. They always do? Okay. Michael's saying hi from Lima, Ohio, I hope. I never get it right. Hello, Katrina from Alabama. Lorena's saying greetings from Spartan Country, Michigan, also the home of the new Biscoff ice cream bars. You hit my weak spot. Unfortunately, I can't try them with my cinnamon allergy. Well, you know what that means, Lorena? More for me. All right. Here we go. Greetings from rainy Denver, says Evelyn. Carabusano, welcome to Nairobi. Thank you, Sarah. Colleen says, best Paris visit ever, except the first day. When I checked in, the Hotel Marriott Gare de Lyon was way oversold. Listen to this. So Colleen writes, so they canceled my reservation made with points. They offered to rebook me, but only if I paid cash. No point redemption allowed. I now have a nice room with a city view, but what's the point of a loyalty program that refuses to honor reservations made with points? Absolutely true. I've been yelling about this, about all airline and hotel loyalty programs for a long time. Any suggestions, she asks, as to how to avoid this from happening in the future? Yes, what I'd like you to do, email me, peter@petergreenberg.com. Give me all the details of your trip, exactly your membership numbers, all the correspondence you had with the hotel, first and last names of anybody you spoke to, and their titles. Let me get into this. You know, this is bait and switch, if you ask me. All right, hello, Gail from New Jersey. Randy's saying hi from Ann Arbor, Michigan. Michelle's saying, Michelle from Tampa, okay. Francis, my next door neighbor here. Hello from Tanzania. Okay. Sarah says, hope you used KQ, the nonstop from JFK to Nairobi. I did not. And the reason is, not because I didn't want to fly Kenya Airways, but whenever I take a look at the map of the world, I need frequency and I need dependability. Kenya Airways doesn't have flights that operate every day, but Qatar Airways does if you don't mind going through Doha. And that's the airline I chose. I'll be happy to fly Kenya Airways. I'll be flying them in about a month, more than likely between Nairobi and Paris. But that's another story. But thank you for that suggestion, Sarah. All right, Terry's saying saludos from California Historic Route 66. All right, let's keep going here up. Camilla is always saying hello from Tucson. Willie's in Atchison, Kansas. The Atchison, Topeka, and the Santa Fe. Uh, all right. Sarah says tipping has lost a lot of its meaning. Greed is bad. It's not about greed. It's about stupidity. Look, the best way to get an upgrade is to not ask for one. And the best way to get a tip is to not demand one. Just do your job and get rewarded. And by the way, if you do a great job and somebody doesn't tip you, there's always karma. All right. Hello from Maryland, says Taye. Nairobi is definitely on my list. I'm happy to hear that. Okay, Sarah said, if you want a good meal, try Cultiva in Karen. It is superb. Well, Sarah, I have a couple of favorites here. In the days when I used to eat meat, I used to live at a place called Carnivore. Unbelievable, out by the Wilson Airport. And Zen Garden, right here in Nairobi, is excellent as well. Okay. Jonathan wants to know, our good friend Captain Atkin, are Michael Croydon sculptural friezes on federal buildings still? You know what? I'll be out and about tomorrow morning. It's already after dark here now in Nairobi. I'll check that out, Captain. Gina says, hello from San Diego. And April's in April, hello from Vegas. Raman's in New York City. Melanie's saying hi from Miami, off to London tonight to see my mom and the coronation. Okay, well, you know what about the Brits? Let's think about it. They do weddings, they do funerals, and once every sort of 80 years or 90 years, they do a coronation. So, yes, they put it together. You'll see, by the way, in London, all the hotels going out of their way to celebrate the coronation. The Dorchester is completely draped the outside of the building in special colors. Everybody's doing a special drink at their bar, including one of Prince Charles's favorites. Who knew? But you know what? It's fun. Do me a favor, Melanie. Don't buy the commemorative plate. Come on. Do you really need it? Okay. Just a thought. All right. Hello from Eastern Long Island, says Karen. And hello from New York City from Catherine. Evelyn, Peter, we're not getting old, we're getting awesome. Okay, I'll take that. Joy Danis, any do's and don'ts we were booking on an Airbnb in Brooklyn, New York? You bet. You know, we talk about hotel resort fees and how draconian they are and how messy they are and how they don't necessarily fully disclose them when you make your reservation or even when you check in. There are many court cases still pending now against a lot of hotels for not doing that. Well, with Airbnb, they have a little problem too. It's called the cleaning fee. Before you ever book an Airbnb, you better figure out first what the cleaning fee is, and number two, you better try to negotiate it. We have seen cleaning fees at Airbnbs as much as $313. All right. Okay. Taya says, I've been taking your advice to call the airlines and speak to a human being, but I keep ending up talking to customer service agents from the Philippines who are minimally informed and keep me on hold for an hour, plus with no resolution. Any way to avoid this? Yeah. How are you calling the airlines? Are you calling the 800 number for the Philippines? Or are you just getting them when you call the regular 800 number and you get switched over? Remember, my advice is do not call the airline's US 800 number. A, you'll be put on hold, and B, you may be on the phone with somebody who doesn't know the difference between Dallas and Dulles, or who thinks New Mexico is a country. So what you do is, you can find this in the directory, even from the airlines, go to their foreign websites for United, American, Delta, and get their toll-free numbers for their own res agencies in those countries. That's what you want to do, okay? Okay, Robin says, Kenya's on my list. Elaine says, we are planning a trip to Ecuador to birdwatch. Any tips would be greatly appreciated, hoping on a side trip to the Galapagos as well. Well, if you're going to do the Galapagos, get yourself organized ahead of time. Remember, the Ecuadorian government, quite responsibly, has put limits on the number of people who can be on the islands at any one time. That includes the boats that go there. It's a precarious situation if you don't. And so make sure that you make those reservations ahead of time. All right, Colleen says, I resent being told how much to tip, but my father ingrained in us that we must always tip service providers. Well, so I do, always. So Colleen, you're telling me that if somebody gives you really bad service, you're still going to tip them? Doesn't that defeat the whole purpose of what a tip is supposed to be? I look at it the other way. If somebody gives you really great service, I double tip. Why not? They went above and beyond. Do you know what the word tip means? It was started in the British pubs a couple hundred years ago to ensure promptness. All right, well, now we've expanded that in the service category to have people do a really good job in anticipating our needs, in delivering on those needs. And it's not just about saying, hi, I'm your server tonight, we're out of coffee. You know what I'm saying. So be a little bit more discriminating, I think. You'll be sending the right message. A tip is a reward, not an expectation. And if it's done any other way, then what they're telling you is they're not paying their people enough. And they're trying to cover for that by putting that auto tip thing on your credit card screen. Wrong. All right, Crust is saying hi from Uganda. Not too far from here. Okay, let me go back up top here. Answer some more. Oh, here we go. Oh, by the way, if you've got some questions, you know what to do. Let me scroll over here for a second. We got more questions here. Okay, Lynette's saying hi from Tampa. Jill's saying hi from Dorset. Have I been to the Botanic Gardens in Montreal? Tips on places for families in Montreal. In fact, I'll be in Montreal in the next month. I love that city. And in fact, one of my best museum experiences ever was in Montreal. You know, I have a rule about museums in any city. I'll do one museum per city at a time, meaning per trip. Otherwise, my eyes glaze over. I don't really have the moments I need with the things I want to see and experience. And a couple of years ago, actually a number of years ago, I was in Montreal, and somebody suggested I go over to their Museum of Fine Art. They're having a very interesting exhibition. And I had 2 hours to kill. I said, great, I'll go. And I thought I was going to do a drive-by. Well, I walked in there, and what were they doing? They had found Da Vinci's old notebooks, his drawings, the things he was sketching. And what did they do when they found those drawings? They built what he drew. Oh my goodness. He designed the helicopter but didn't know it. He designed architectural, structural things in buildings that are still used today but didn't possibly know what he did. And so many other things that they built. It was such an amazing exhibit. I canceled my return trip. I stayed 3 more days and I went there every single day. That was a great exhibit, and they do great work there in Montreal. Check out the museum while you're out there. All right. Okay, Anthony's saying he's going to go to Tanzania, then looking to book a river cruise to Vietnam. Okay. I'm getting hellos from Arusha in Tanzania, right next door. So that's always great to know. All right, Anthony says, I love cruising. I agree. Oh, that was it. That's his handle. I agree I don't mind tipping when service warrants, but not liking being told to do so. Absolutely. All right. Agree with you. This is Lori says, I agree with you on the inability to opt out of tips above service charge. I love Kenya too. All right. Hi from Helsinki. All right. Sam Eric. All right, here we go. Scott's saying hi from Portland, Maine. Lori says, oh no, business and first class lounges are full. Actually, Lori, they're not full. They're overloaded. They're overloaded. This is ridiculous. And why did this happen? Because companies like American Express and airlines made deals to promote you getting their card, giving you free lounge access, and too many people. Now, I'm not trying to speak like an elitist person, but remember why you joined a lounge club in the first place. To not have to stand in line for anything. To have some quiet away from the chaos at the terminal. To maybe have something decent to eat instead of just another old bowl of hummus and carrots, right? So this is what's going on. I was recently at LaGuardia, and as I walked by the Delta Lounge, and by the way, I joined the Delta Lounge when I was 25 years old as a lifetime member. It means nothing. I still couldn't get in. What were they doing there? They were actually there were people coming out from the club, Delta employees, taking attendance and offering people some carrots. Wow. We should all be wearing Bugs Bunny outfits. What's up, Doc? All right. Hi from Calvin. Hi from Zayud. Richard Walden. Hello, Mr. Walden. Richard Walden, by the way, runs an unbelievable nonprofit called Operation USA, started and founded by Julie Andrews. These guys have boots on the ground when there's a problem, and that includes the earthquake in Turkey, getting much needed supplies where they need to go. In the interest of full disclosure, I'm also serving on the board of directors of this charity. Go to their website, opusa.org, and see what they're doing, see how you can help. In fact, go to my website, petergreenberg.com, for the comprehensive list of all the aid and relief organizations doing all that hard and essential work, especially now in places like Syria and Turkey where they need it the most. This is where you can really help. The earthquake in Turkey is no longer front page news, but it's front page news to me. It should be front page news to you, and I hope you agree. All right, let's keep going here. Let's go over here. I'm scrolling down again. Give me a second. Okay, Raman says, I booked Air France to Milan, but it's operated by Delta. Yes, welcome to the world of code shares. I need to pay for my luggage on Delta website, but it's not offering that option. Do I just pay for luggage at JFK? You do. This is the problem of code share. Look at the Northeast Alliance between JetBlue and American. Now, if I'm a top-tier flyer on American, does that mean I don't have to pay for bags because I have that much mileage? Does that mean I do have to pay for bags if the American flight is operated by JetBlue? Somebody tell me the answer. I don't know. But code sharing is crazy. I saw a departure board the other day with one flight going from Los Angeles to New York with 9 different airline designations and 9 different airline flight designations for the exact same flight. Good luck. All right. Okay, Taya says, should we be purchasing travel insurance along with our plane tickets? A lot of international airlines offer me Allianz at checkout. I will say that Allianz is doing a better job in terms of what their policies will cover you for, especially since the pandemic. But for me, here's the issue. If you're booking a flight online or a hotel room online, the way it's all set up now with the online travel agencies, you cannot complete the transaction unless you either opt in or opt out of the insurance. And if you look at the first page of what you're only looking at, it's going to say, oh, get peace of mind, you're protected, you're this, you're that. Really? There is nothing on that first page that tells you what you're really covered for, or worse, what you're not really covered for. How many of you ever actually go to the website of that organization to look at page 5, 6, and 7 to find out what the exclusions are? Age exclusions, pre-existing medical conditions, destination exclusions. You never do it. Right? You think, oh, I better do this, and you hit the opt-in, and then you pay X number of dollars more, and you get your ticket, only to find out you weren't covered. So the answer to your question is this. I am not opposed to trip cancellation and interruption insurance. There are many instances where it's actually a good idea to protect yourself. But why are you going to do it without, you're flying blind. So here's what you do. Opt out of it online, then call a travel agent. They can sell you travel insurance, but most importantly, they can actually walk you through the hieroglyphics of what's in that policy language, which none of us can understand. Some might see that's intentional, so that you know what you're covered for, what you're not covered for, all right? So, and you buy, by the way, you might end up buying it from Allianz, but the point is, don't opt in until you know what you're buying, all right? Very simple. Gail says, last year we were going on a Mississippi River cruise, but there was a drought. Now they're having flooding on sections. I give up. It's either feast or famine on river cruises. Hey, welcome to global warming, not just on the Mississippi, but in Europe. And where the global warming is really particularly disturbing is we've seen river levels drop precipitously, not in the summer when it's warmer, but in the winter where usually it's overfull. So if you're going to buy a river cruise, do yourself a favor. This is really segued in right from the insurance question of making sure you're covered for trip cancellation and interruption insurance. Please do not buy it from the travel provider themselves for another reason. If the travel provider goes out of business, they're essentially self-insuring, so does your insurance. So get it from a third party, go through a travel agent, make sure you know what you're covered for, then you do it, okay? Let's keep going up here. All right, I've got some more, all right. Camilla says, I do prefer to be in charge of tipping. Well, good for you, Camilla, you should. And I will tip generously for great service. However, I despise folks who receive great service and proceed to walk away without tipping a dime. Day guides are often shafted in miserable ways, so I do find some level of built-in tips acceptable. How about this? Don't build in any tips that way. Here's what you do. You don't call it a tip. Raise your rates. Build it in. Stop nickel and diming people. I'm speaking to the travel providers. Because, look, you order room service at a hotel, and up comes the bill. And there's taxes, usually sometimes a VAT tax if you're in a foreign country. And then there's like a 15 to 18% service charge, right? And then it says gratuity. The question you need to ask in the most polite way of the person who brought you your meal is, does this service charge go to you? And if they say no, then dispute the entire bill. What is that service charge going for? It's like a resort fee. They're trying to disguise a higher rate by charging you something else. Not a good idea. Camilla, I do agree with you, but the bottom line is have a conversation And if you don't like what you're seeing and you don't like the idea of a hotel double dipping, because that's what they're doing, let them know. Again, I do not deny anybody the right to receive a tip for great service. That's what a tip is supposed to be. Okay, let's keep going here. I'm going all the way up here. Make sure I didn't catch. Okay, here we go. I've got some more questions here from people who sent them in earlier this week, so let's honor them. But before I do that, I've got two more little pieces of news I wanted to share with you. Number one, the latest statistics are out about the most congested traffic situations in the world. Always helpful for people who are traveling. And some of these stats I'm questioning, but I'll get to that in a second. Let's go through them. What's the number one congested city in the world for traffic? Anyone want to guess? It's London. You'll be spending an average of 156 hours in traffic. Chicago's right behind him at 155 hours. Paris, 138 hours. Boston, 134. Bogota, 122. Palermo, who knew, 121. Toronto at 118. New York City at 117. Monterey, that's Monterey, Mexico, 116 hours. And Philadelphia at 114 hours. They forgot one. What happened to Los Angeles? The worst traffic I've seen in decades is now in Los Angeles. Okay? Red Fox used to have a joke that he used. And I'm not going to say it because it's politically incorrect. But he basically said, what's the best time to travel in Los Angeles by car? And he said 10 o'clock, and then he listed the reasons, which were hysterically funny when he said it, and would end my career if I said it. But the point is, when he said it, all humor and possible racism, notwithstanding, the 10 o'clock rule on Sunday was right. Best time to drive in LA was 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. Well, it's not the best time to drive there now. In fact, there is no best time to drive in LA now. It's like never. So I'm wanting to know where was Los Angeles on this list? This list was probably compiled by somebody who works for the Los Angeles Convention and Visitors Bureau, but we'll get to that later. Now, here's some fun stuff. We all knew about the Great Migration. No, not in Kenya, but there is a Great Migration in Kenya. As you know, it's going to happen this year about mid-July. No, we're talking about the big Great Migration that happened in the United States during the pandemic as people reassessed their life, their lifestyle, their cost of living, their jobs, their future, and decided to move somewhere else. But a lot of other cities want you to move there, and they're willing to give you money to do so. So here are the cities, as of this writing today, that are willing to pay you to move there in 2023. Here we go. The Shoals in Alabama, they'll give you 10 grand if you move there. Rochester, New York, grants worth up to $19,000 to go to Rochester. Topeka, Kansas, well, you may be in Kansas sometime now, anywhere from $10,000 for renting to $15,000 for purchasing a primary home there. There's Morgantown, West Virginia. Then there's one of my favorites, Tulsa, Oklahoma. I love Tulsa, and through their Kaiser Foundation, they're offering a $10,000 grant, and if you move there. There's Newton, Iowa, South Burlington, Vermont, West Lafayette, Indiana, and the list goes on. We'll publish that later on my website in case you're thinking of moving. There are some restrictions involved, like once you get there, you sort of have to stay there. But if you're looking for a change of pace, and not Los Angeles traffic, I might add, might be a place to go. All right, let's go to some of your questions. Give me a second here. Here we go. I think we have them. Hold on. Here we go. All right. Dawn wants to know, when should we book Atlanta to Jackson, Wyoming for August? When in August? Tell me more information and I can give you an answer. Bridget says, hi Peter, I'm looking for a more affordable hotel option in Fort Lauderdale for this summer. Where would you recommend? Well, if you can get a relatively inexpensive rental car in the summer in Fort Lauderdale, which you can do, right? It's not high season, then why would you want to stay in Fort Lauderdale? Or why would you want to be paying that premium to be on the beach? Stay a few blocks away, you'll have a rental car anyway, and get a better deal. Tina, what advice do you have for travelers looking to travel sustainably and reduce their impact on the environment? Well, I'm going to make a wild guess here that 90% of you do not know what your carbon footprint is when you get on an airplane. And by the way, I would even think it might be 95%. So we get on a plane, right? What's your carbon footprint when you get on a cruise ship, when you get on a bus, when you drive your own car? Until we can really figure out this figure and how it relates to our daily lives, and then all the other component parts that go into our travel decisions, we're talking about sustainability, we're not really doing it. There's carbon offsets, something I still don't understand. Look, the best way to do it, you're going to laugh at me, right, is two ways, at least if you're in the United States. And you can also apply this overseas, but especially in the U.S. Take the train. It's got a really low carbon footprint when you consider how many people are on it and how much fuel it's burning. And the same gets true, believe it or not, in your own automobile as long as you're filling the car, right? Strap Granny on the roof, be the Clampetts, Beverly Hillbillies, off you go, better carbon footprint. All right. Here, Diane says, when did you say the airfare prices will drop? Well, they did about 2 weeks ago for about 10 days. I called that one right. When did that happen and why did that happen? It was an immediate result with a little bit of lag time because of the bank failures in Silicon Valley, in New York, and in Switzerland. Now they're coming back up again. Travel demand has never been higher, and there's a reason for that, which dates back to the pandemic. Now, you may not want to admit it, but most of your friends have made this decision. The pandemic brought so many of us up close and personal with our own mortality. We either got COVID and struggled through it and survived, or we know friends and relatives who struggled through it and survived, or worse, friends and relatives who didn't make it at all. And as a result, we reassessed our priorities. We're less inclined to buy material items, a new car, new clothes, new jewelry, new big expensive electronic items. I mean, go to Best Buy right now and see how many people are buying the big TVs. Not many. So that means, what did we do? We then went away from material goods and decided there was a ticking clock here, a sort of Last Supper mentality that if we didn't travel now, we'd never travel. We wanted to buy experiences. So we took all that money we had earmarked or had been spending for all those other material items, and we threw it into travel. And that's why we're seeing it today. So we will see drops periodically in airfares, as I mentioned. So some of those pop-up sales to Europe or to the U.S. coming up every so often for 36 hours. But right now, airfares are not going down overall. They're staying steady. My guess is they'll probably stay steady until the fall. And when the fall rolls around and people start getting their credit card bills at 28% interest, that might affect their decisions to travel beyond that. But for the moment, airfares are going to stay strong through the summer. Okay. All right. Here we go. All right. A couple of other things I want to share with you. You know, our hidden specials are on the air now. There's hidden Ireland. There's hidden Saudi Arabia. There's hidden Poland. There's hidden Turkey. There's hidden Turkey for the Aegean. And there's even hidden Ireland. I mean, we got them all. And you can find them right now, if not on your local PBS stations, which are still airing them, you can also find them on Amazon Prime and Apple TV Plus. So I encourage you to do that. Let's go to the photo of the week, by the way. I love this photo. It's coming up. We think it's coming up. There it is. Look at that light. Taken by Alan Millick. And he says he took this shot while flying over Greenland. He writes, I frequently fly long flights over the oceans, 10 to 12 times a year, and to me it's essential to have a window seat. Every time I take time for a few memory shots of the wing in the air, different times of dusks and dawns, always provide surreal realities. Does anybody want to tell me what that plane is based on the wing? There's a piece of trivia for you. Can anybody identify the wing of the plane that wing belongs to? Might surprise you. Alan, thank you very much for that photo. It's always about the light, isn't it? And if you've got a photo that you think qualifies as the photo of the week, then you know what to do. Just email me to peter at petergreenberg.com, and if we agree with you, you get to join Alan next week on this. All right. Last couple of questions before we have to roll. And no, I'm not doing a nighttime safari. All right, here we go. I'm looking, scrolling down. Oh, okay. Here's one from Lynette. Have I noticed that the service on American Airlines has gotten significantly subpar? Well, do me a favor. Tell me, Lynette, some examples of that. I want to be fair. I think airline service has gotten subpar on a lot of airlines. It gets down to a definition of how they want to make their money, if they really look at themselves as a service provider, and how they define us as passengers. There are some who would argue, and I hope I'm not being too harsh, that we've now been morphed into the definition of self-loading cargo. And think about that. But give me some examples, Lynette, and we'll talk about that. Here's one. Is there a way to avoid paying resort fees? Absolutely. Everything's negotiable, right? First of all, they don't even disclose it half the time. And then they tell you it's mandatory. I don't think so. Where you get in trouble with resort fees is when you book online, because then you've already agreed to it without knowing it. And you've not had a conversation with the one person on the phone or the other, or maybe the one of two people on the phone that can figure that out to negotiate it with you, right? When you book online, you put yourself at an immediate disadvantage because you can't ask any questions and there's nobody there to answer it. So I'm not telling you to, not to look online. I'm telling you not necessarily to book online until you've called the hotel and had a conversation with either the manager on duty, that's the MOD, or the director of sales, and discuss this ridiculous resort fee, which is just a tax dodge. I know it, they know it, and then see what you can do about it, right? Remember, when we vote with our wallets, we send a clear message, especially if we happen to be right. Look, I'm still battling Delta Airlines for issuing travel companion certificates and one-way upgrades that were totally useless. It was like the draconian gift card. They were never able to be used. They were never, but they made you think when they offered them to you that you got a true redeemable perk for your loyalty to the airline, right? A resort fee is not really delivering you great service. A resort fee is basically bundling in some stuff that most of you will never need and never want as an excuse to charge more for the room without paying higher occupancy taxes in each city or municipality. It's as simple as that. Get ready for some more legal action from state attorneys general in this area, as well as the Federal Trade Commission. Remember, it was part of Joe Biden's State of the Union message for a reason. He called them junk fees. He's not wrong. So stay tuned on that. But to answer your question, is there a way to avoid paying resort fees? Yes. Negotiate it up front. Either they remove it because they failed to disclose, or they reduce it because they know as well as you do you're not getting anything for it. What, a towel at the pool and a bottle of water? Give me a break. When you're charging $30 to $90 a day for a resort fee, I'm sorry, does not compute. All right. Again, greetings from Nairobi, from the Villa Rosa Kempinski Hotel. I hope you guys have a great rest of the week. Get ready for the radio show this weekend, Eye on Travel. It goes on the air 10 a.m. Eastern Time as of Saturday, so pick your time zone and check it out. If you can't find it in your market, no problem. We stream it live. Just go to our website with that imaginative name, petergreenberg.com, and I'll give you a hint. Where we're coming from this Saturday is about 7,000 miles away from here. It's not in the U.S. It's not in Africa. I'll let you pick, all right? But we'll see you on the radio on Saturday. In the meantime, keep your questions coming in. Let me see if I have any more to answer before we say goodbye, because I know you guys are weighing in here quickly. Gina likes self-loading cargo. Okay. Patty Ford said, manager said no. No problem, Patty. Then you say no. You see what I'm saying? We vote with our wallets. You're not going to let us negotiate the resort fee? Good. Give that towel in the water to somebody else. Yes, that's what you want to do. All right. Evelyn says, thank you. Raman says, is there a particular safari you'd recommend not limited to Kenya? There are a number. I love the folks at Mikado. I love the Abercrombie & Kents. They do a terrific job. I would check those two first. And by the way, those companies operate both in Kenya and Tanzania, and they're just amazing. All right, here we go. One more thing. Taya says, refundable fares versus non-refundable, which would you choose? Refundable always costs at least $200 more. Okay. This gets back to what I was talking about at the beginning of the show, and that's this. With every airplane full, you may want to consider something called trip stacking. So you get your non-refundable discounted fare, let's say between Los Angeles and Chicago, and then buy a refundable fare on another airline. So you buy one on American and you buy your refundable fare on United, so that if your first flight doesn't operate or you don't make it, you can refund it, right? If they cancel the flight or you cancel the flight or you're delayed. But if you are delayed, you whip out that refundable ticket and off you go. Because at the end of the day, what's your purpose here? To go from point A to point B, not to live at the airport. It's called trip stacking. And by the way, if the first non-refundable flight actually operates, then you just refund the refundable fare. Before I go, a big thanks to Petra Bauman and the staff here at the Kempinski in Nairobi. Great place to stay. Great Italian restaurant, by the way. And by the way, think about this. Where have you had your best foreign food? I've had my best Italian food in Lucerne, Switzerland, my best Chinese food in Amman, Jordan, right? My best Indian food in London, and now some pretty good Italian food right here in Nairobi. Amazing. And tonight I'm going to a sushi place, which, by the way, I've been to twice already. Love it. All right. Anyway, enough about my eating habits. We'll see you on the radio Saturday. Have a great rest of the week. Anthony Protus Chung, thank you for handling the situation and the boards back in Los Angeles. Have a great week and a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see you next week from about 7,500 miles from here. Bye, everybody.